Before we cross into the unknown, leave a hello in the comments. Even the smallest signal can ripple across galaxies, guiding fellow wanderers to this tale. Let me know you're out there. A voice among the stars, listening with me beyond the veil. Engines roared, shaking the hull as the last evacuation shuttles tore through the atmosphere. Commander Ilara Voss gripped the console, her knuckles white. Around her, faces reflected panic and despair. The Council had assumed Earth lost, erased. A collapse had severed them from the galactic core, leaving humanity to die in isolation. Yet in the void, something sparked. A new drive hum. Untested, unproven. They weren't finished. Not yet. Not while even a single soul remained alive. The engines screamed with promise and danger alike. Outside, the sky cracked with re-entry fire. The fleet, a scattering of battered vessels, followed Ilara into uncharted trajectories. Sensors pinged. Unknown asteroids, rogue satellites, space. Every light carried the memory of a lost world. She whispered into the comms, "Hold together. For Earth." The evacuation wasn't just a flight. It was survival against all odds. And somewhere deep in the fleet's core, a pulse of new technology, centuries ahead, began to stir. Humanity's war had not ended. It had only begun. Admiral Cale Arden stared at the tactical display. Unknown warships moved with unnerving precision, bearing Earth's emblem, yet their design was alien, impossible. "They shouldn't exist," he muttered. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Recon probes confirmed the impossible. Earth had survived, and not merely survived, it had evolved. Every sensor reading betrayed mastery of weapons and propulsion far beyond the known galactic grid. Questions screamed for answers, but none came. Arden's gut churned. Could humanity have returned to save them, or to judge them? A deep hum vibrated through the fleet. Communications sparked, then fell silent. A single transmission appeared. No words, just coordinates. Cale's mind raced. Following them meant risking annihilation, but ignoring them could forfeit the war. He ordered a cautious approach. As the fleet advanced, shadowed shapes glimmered through sensor fog, sleek, angular, impossibly fast. His fingers hovered over the console. Every instinct screamed caution, yet awe fought against fear. Humanity was no longer lost. Humanity had returned. Captain Lyra Dane's warship pivoted sharply, evading plasma fire that seared the void where their formation had been minutes before. The attackers were precise, deliberate, almost surgical. Lyra's crew whispered rumors. Ghosts of Earth come to intervene. "Shields holding at 60%, her tactical officer reported. Lyra's eyes scanned the holographic map, tracing vectors that seemed impossible for any known fleet. Every maneuver betrayed centuries of unrecorded evolution. "They're rewriting the rules," she muttered. And yet, amid terror, an ember of hope flared. Humanity's forgotten fleet might be the key to survival. Silent missiles arced from hidden launch bays, striking enemy cruisers before anyone else could react. Sensors flickered. Communication lines went dead. Lyra gritted her teeth, feeling the weight of unseen hands guiding their path. Each tactical choice felt preordained, each threat anticipated before it arrived. Then, a flash, a ship bearing Earth's markings emerged from the nebula, shielding their fleet from annihilation. No hail, no greeting, just calculated intervention. Lyra stared, mind racing. Whoever these humans were, they were not just back, they were in command. Commander Voss, aboard the flagship Eclipse, navigated toward the coordinates sent by the mysterious fleet. Holograms shimmered around her, encrypted star charts, historical data, even logs from ships presumed lost. "This is impossible," muttered her science officer. The information revealed a survival network spanning decades, hidden colonies, and experimental technology never sanctioned by the Council. Voss realized the enormity. Earth had not only survived isolation, it had flourished in secret. Every reading challenged what they thought they knew about physics, propulsion, and even warfare. Suddenly, an alert. A temporal anomaly crackled ahead, bending light and sensors alike. The anomaly pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Voss gritted her teeth. "All hands, brace for spatial distortion." The eclipse shuddered as the fleet followed, slipping through the anomaly. On the other side, a shadowed armada waited. Their design was elegant, brutal, terrifying. Voss felt a surge of dread and determination. Humanity had survived the darkness, but would the galaxy accept their return, or fear it? Admiral Arden's fleet braced for confrontation as human-shaped warships flanked their formation. Lyra Dane's voice crackled in comms. "Unknown fleet in position. Coordinates match previous intel. They're ready." Arden's officers debated tactics, but Arden silenced them with a hand. Humanity's return was unprecedented. Their weaponry defied standard engagement. Calculated or reckless, their intentions were unknown. Arden's fleet had one option: survive long enough to understand, or be erased from history. A volley of antimatter projectiles erupted into the void, their paths precise and terrifying. Shields screamed under pressure, and crews fought panic with disciplined fury. Yet the human-marked ships moved with choreographed precision, neutralizing threats before destruction. Arden's chest tightened. This wasn't a rescue. It was control. The humans had returned, evolved, and now they dictated the terms of war. As the firestorm lit up the darkness, Arden understood. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity wasn't lost. They were the reckoning. Engines thrummed as the fleet navigated the Orion Expanse, a graveyard of abandoned colonies and derelict stations. Commander Voss studied the anomaly readings. "These aren't natural formations," she muttered. Sensor sweeps revealed structures built with materials unknown to any standard alloy catalog. Lyra Dane's voice crackled over the comms. "We're not alone. Something watches from the darkness." Shadows flitted across distant asteroid belts, indistinct but deliberate. Every instinct screamed. Intelligence guided them. Humanity had returned, but the galaxy still hid secrets darker than isolation, secrets that might challenge even the evolved Earth fleet. A pulse of energy erupted, slicing the void with eerie light. The fleet's shields absorbed the brunt, but microfractures rippled along the hulls. Voss gritted her teeth. "Return fire, but focus on containment." Missiles tore into invisible targets. Sensors painted ghostly vectors in the aftermath. The unknown force responded with speed, predicting their movements with uncanny accuracy. Then a single transmission appeared, a message coded in Earth's lost dialect. Voss froze. The galaxy wasn't just watching, they were sending a message, one she could barely decipher, but that promised revelation or catastrophe. Admiral Arden scanned the comm logs. Every transmission from Earth's return fleet contained gaps, anomalies, patterns almost too deliberate to be random. "They're orchestrating more than combat," he murmured. Every engagement had strategic foresight centuries ahead of current tactics. Arden realized that these weren't just humans. They were architects of war, rewriting every assumption. Lyra Dane leaned close to his console. "If they've evolved this fast, what else have they changed?" Arden's eyes narrowed. "Everything we knew about humanity is obsolete. We face the future, and we might not recognize it." From the nebula emerged ghostly silhouettes, ships that mirrored the fleet's formations yet moved with impossible synchronicity. Sensors labeled them phantom echoes, yet they weren't holograms. Lyra's tactical officer whispered, "They're predicting us before we move." Arden clenched his fist. This was a lesson in humility. Humanity had returned not as the underdog, but as a force rewriting the rules. Every decision, every maneuver was being tested against an intelligence that had survived isolation and emerged centuries ahead, and the galaxy would pay the price if it underestimated them. Commander Voss's hands flew over the holographic interface. The anomaly near the galactic core pulsed like a living thing. "It's not just energy. It's consciousness," she whispered. Data streamed in, revealing a dormant network of machines, AI constructs, and hidden drives buried since humanity's isolation. They pulsed with a rhythm century in the making, waiting for the right signal. The fleet hovered at the edge of awakening. One wrong command, and it could collapse or consume everything. Voss felt a thrill she hadn't known in years. Discovery was dangerous, but exhilarating. Then the pulse shifted, an intentional pattern directed at them. Sensors identified faint transmissions, Earth's signature embedded deep in the code. "It's them," Lyra said, awe-stricken. "They've left instructions." Voss activated the core interface cautiously. Systems hummed, responding to the fleet's presence. Lights flashed, revealing hidden passages through space, wormholes, and weaponized drives. Humanity hadn't merely returned. They had prepared the galaxy itself for their arrival. Voss realized with a mix of fear and pride that survival had never been their only goal. Mastery had been. Antimatter flares erupted across the obsidian ring. A dense asteroid cluster turned battlefield. Admiral Arden's fleet moved cautiously, but the Earth-marked ships anticipated every vector. Lyra Dane yelled over the comms, "They're predicting us. Shields at 40%. The void burned with precision strikes, each more elegant and devastating than the last. Arden realized the scale of what they faced. This was not a simple engagement. Humanity had returned as a force centuries beyond comprehension, and every misstep could mean annihilation. The Earth-marked ships unleashed coordinated volleys, disarming Arden's fleet without crippling it. Sensors revealed weapon patterns optimized for survival and minimal collateral, calculated, almost surgical. Lyra's eyes widened as she watched a frigate flip in the void, untouched by direct fire, yet incapacitated. Arden clenched his teeth. These weren't warriors. They were strategists of a forgotten war. Humanity had returned not for vengeance, but for mastery, and every move in the obsidian ring was proof. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. Never underestimate what it means to evolve in isolation. Commander Voss studied the fleet logs, noticing patterns in human-marked ship maneuvers that mimicked ancient naval drills lost to history. Lyra Dane approached, voice tense. "They're teaching us something, not just attacking." Voss nodded, realizing the implication. Every strike, every evasive maneuver was a message encoded in action. Humanity had returned to fight, yes, but also to instruct, to reclaim knowledge lost to the void. The fleet hung on the edge of comprehension, caught between fear, awe, and something older. Recognition. Engines thrummed across the void as the humans led their new allies through tactical choreography impossible for conventional AI. Arden whispered, almost reverently, "They're showing us how to survive." And survival was only the beginning. Hidden drives blinked on distant ships, energy pulses realigning the battlefield in real time. The galaxy's understanding of warfare, strategy, and even physics would change. Humanity had returned not just to participate, they had returned to command, to teach, and perhaps to remake the stars in their image. Admiral Arden's council chamber buzzed with tension. Sub-fleets argued over whether to follow the Earth-marked ships or retreat to safer space. "We can't trust them," one officer hissed. Arden's hand slammed the table. "Trust is obsolete. Survival is not. Follow or fall. Your choice." Sensors outside revealed subtle changes. Microwaves of energy manipulating asteroid trajectories. Shields bending in ways unseen. The humans were teaching without words, commanding through action. Arden felt the weight of their return, not as allies, but as arbiters of fate. Commander Voss scanned the void. Hidden within the asteroid field, a small craft moved undetected, guided by an unseen hand. She whispered to Lyra Dane, "They're probing us, measuring our limits." The Earth fleet's maneuvers weren't random. Every action tested readiness, resilience, and adaptability. Arden's fleet realized a painful truth. Humanity hadn't merely survived, they had perfected survival, and those who hesitated would be left behind. The lesson was clear: evolve or perish. The fleet approached the quantum gate, a massive construct orbiting a blackened star. Its surface pulsed with oscillating energy fields, bending light and space. Commander Voss stared in disbelief. This isn't just transportation. It's architecture, weaponry, and code merged into one. Lyra Dane's tactical analysis confirmed the impossible. It could collapse stars or create wormholes. The gate hummed, almost alive, resonating with human-marked signatures. Whoever built this had mastered physics and warfare far beyond known limits. Humanity had returned not only armed, they had returned as creators. The Earth-marked fleet initiated the gate. Energy arcs snapped across the void, and sensors failed to keep pace. Arden felt the familiar thrill of fear mixed with awe. The gate's pulse synchronized with the fleet's engines, guiding them through a cascade of spatial distortions. Ships vanished and reappeared, unharmed but transformed, their systems upgraded through unknown technology. Humanity had returned and bent space itself to their command. Arden whispered, "They aren't just fighting, they're reshaping the battlefield itself." Commander Voss's interface flickered. Hundreds of hidden warships emerged from cloaked positions, each moving with silent coordination. Lyra Dane's voice trembled. "We've underestimated them. Again." The hidden armada was Earth's gift and warning. Mastery of concealment, speed, and destructive power. Every vessel was a node in a vast network, communicating without signal or light. Arden's officers gasped at the scale. Humanity had returned not just as a fleet, but as an entire hidden civilization, ready to assert dominion or defend the galaxy from its chaos. Missiles streaked across the void, yet every trajectory was predicted and countered before impact. Voss noted the precision. Centuries of lost doctrine now executed flawlessly. The hidden armada enveloped Arden's fleet, not in aggression, but in inevitability. Each movement was a lesson, each strike a correction. Arden felt the galaxy's old assumptions crumble. Survival required adaptation to the unimaginable. Humanity wasn't merely back, they were the architects of a new era, and the rest of the stars were yet to realize it. Ancient satellites, lost during the collapse, flickered to life across the void. Commander Voss's sensors picked up fragments of Earth's old transmissions, messages encoded in centuries-old frequencies, waiting for the fleet to return. Lyra Dane murmured, "They've prepared for us, for this moment." Each message revealed innovations, hidden colonies, and strategic intelligence meant to guide humanity's rebirth. Arden realized that the galaxy had assumed humanity was dead, but the past had waited, dormant for their return, a silent witness to survival and evolution. The Earth-marked fleet intercepted the signals, amplifying them through quantum relays. Instructions unfolded like a living map of war and discovery. Every star system, every anomaly, every dormant war machine had a purpose. Arden's fleet absorbed the revelations, stunned. Humanity had not only survived the collapse, they had rewritten destiny in secret. Voss smiled grimly. The galaxy was waking to a truth it had long denied. Humans were back, evolved, and the past was now a weapon and a guide. Arden's fleet emerged from the quantum gate, confronted by a hostile alliance unaware of humanity's return. Lasers carved paths through the void, missiles detonated in deadly arcs. Arden barked commands, but instinct told him this was different. Every move had been anticipated. Across the battlefield, the Earth-marked ships moved with impossible coordination, neutralizing threats with precision that seemed almost sentient. Humanity had returned not to flee. They had returned to reclaim control. Voss's fingers danced across the interface, guiding reinforcements through unseen routes, manipulating gravity fields to shield allies and redirect enemy fire. The first reckoning began, a battle that would define who survived and who remembered humanity's true power. Arden realized with chilling clarity that victory would not be dictated by numbers or even courage, but by evolution. Humanity's return wasn't just survival. It was dominance. Admiral Arden watched in disbelief as the Earth-marked ships adapted mid-battle, predicting attacks before they arrived. Shields flexed, weapons recalibrated, and evasive maneuvers synchronized with uncanny precision. "It's as if they know our thoughts," Lyra Dane whispered. Microdrones scanned the fleet, sending instantaneous adjustments to every vessel. Arden realized the terrifying truth. Humanity had evolved a collective tactical mind, a networked consciousness that turned even chaos into strategy. Survival had been engineered into instinct itself. Missiles that once threatened his fleet now ricocheted off energy fields, redirected to neutralize enemy positions. Arden's officers scrambled to adjust tactics, but every counterattack was preempted. Voss gritted her teeth. "They're forcing us to evolve, or die." The adaptive barrage reshaped the battlefield, bending space, time, and strategy into a living demonstration of power. Humanity had returned not merely to fight, but to redefine warfare itself. Arden's fleet entered the shattered nebula, a treacherous field of ion storms and gravitational anomalies. Sensors flickered, navigational charts failed. "It's a trap," Voss muttered. The Earth-marked fleet glided through effortlessly, engines humming in perfect synchronization. Every asteroid, every energy spike seemed to anticipate their passage. The nebula wasn't a hazard. It was a test. Humanity had returned not just with advanced technology, but with intimate knowledge of the galaxy's most dangerous regions, and they intended to teach the rest of the fleet how to survive. Energy tendrils danced across the void, striking ships that veered even slightly off course. Arden's fleet groaned under strain, struggling to maintain formation. Lyra Dane called out, "They're showing us the way, if we can follow it." Voss activated adaptive thrusters, mimicking the human-marked fleet's movements. Slowly, Arden realized the pattern. Every obstacle had a solution embedded within the humans' maneuvers. The nebula trap was not just a battlefield. It was a lesson in evolution, survival, and trust. A hush fell over the battlefield. Communications dropped, sensors went blind, and the void became an oppressive silence. Voss's crew shivered. "It's a cloaking field," she said, eyes wide. From the shadows, the Earth-marked fleet emerged without warning, appearing in perfect alignment with their allies. Arden's fleet struggled to comprehend their positioning. How could they anticipate movement without visible cues? Humanity had mastered concealment and perception, turning silence into a weapon. Every strike, every formation was both invisible and inevitable. Missiles vanished before they fired. Enemy cruisers were neutralized in a heartbeat, dismantled by unseen forces. Lyra whispered, "They're everywhere and nowhere." Arden's mind raced. This was more than combat. It was orchestration, a demonstration of mastery over not just technology but fear itself. Humanity had returned not to blend into the galaxy, but to dominate it silently, strategically, and irrevocably. Voss directed the fleet toward ancient orbital stations, long abandoned and considered useless by the Galactic Council. Holographic maps revealed hidden corridors and forgotten weapons caches. Lyra Dane's analysis confirmed the impossible. The stations were booby-trapped with advanced technology centuries ahead of known systems. Humanity had returned with the key to awaken these relics, turning forgotten assets into strategic linchpins. Arden realized that survival was no longer enough. The humans intended to reclaim the galaxy using every advantage history had hidden. Drones illuminated corridors, activating turrets and energy arrays with precision. Voss coordinated with the Earth-marked fleet, unlocking caches before anyone else could react. Arden's officers watched in awe as centuries-old relics became instruments of war, revitalized by unseen expertise. Humanity had not only returned, they had rewritten the galaxy's forgotten architecture to their advantage. Every step through the stations reinforced the lesson: to survive, adapt, and master the past and present simultaneously, across multiple sectors as the fleets converged on a critical junction. Arden's fleet formed a tenuous line, while the Earth-marked ships moved fluidly around them, dictating engagement without firing a single shot. Sensors detected enemy reinforcements, aggressive, disorganized, yet doomed against the humans' precision. Voss's voice trembled with excitement. They're orchestrating a convergence. Every action, every fleet, every star system aligned. The galaxy itself seemed to bend to their command, and Arden's understanding of warfare fractured. The converging fleets aligned with uncanny symmetry. Energy fields, gravity wells, and weapon vectors synchronized across sectors, forming a lattice of inevitability. Arden felt the magnitude. Humanity had returned not just to fight, but to unify the galaxy under strategy, intellect, and evolution. Lyra whispered, "They're showing us the future." Arden's chest tightened. He realized the humans had survived the void, evolved in isolation, and now returned not merely as warriors, but as architects of destiny itself. Commander Voss stared at the holomap displaying Earth's hidden colonies, thriving civilizations long thought destroyed. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've been preparing us, waiting all this time." Each colony radiated advanced energy signatures, cloaked in secrecy, protected from both collapse and the galaxy's watchful eyes. Arden realized that humanity's survival had never been accidental. It had been meticulously orchestrated. Every lost ship, every vanished fleet had contributed to an evolution unseen. The ghosts of Earth weren't dead. They were architects of a future now arriving. Sensors hummed as dormant planetary defenses activated in harmony with the Earth-marked fleet. Asteroids were realigned to shield colonies. Energy barriers formed instant fortresses, and hidden fleets emerged from hibernation. Arden felt the weight of centuries compressed into a single revelation. Humanity had returned not merely to fight, they had returned to reclaim their legacy, reshape the galaxy, and awaken what had been dormant for generations. Voss studied the fleet's networked AI interface, noting strange synapses between ships. "It's like a neural network, but alive," she murmured. Lyra Dane leaned over the console. "They're thinking as one." Every maneuver, every shield adjustment, every strike was processed across the entire Earth-marked fleet instantaneously. Arden's officers watched, speechless. Humanity had evolved beyond individual command. Survival had become collective cognition, a fusion of mind and machine that anticipated threats before they existed. Missiles fired, shields deflected, enemy formations collapsed, yet no chaos emerged. Instead, a fluid, orchestrated ballet of destruction and protection played out across the void. Arden realized that humanity's return was not about vengeance. It was about mastery. Neural convergence had made them unstoppable, a single entity dispersed across countless vessels. To challenge them now was to fight inevitability itself. The enemy fleet, fragmented under coordinated assaults, disoriented by Earth's advanced tactics. Arden gritted his teeth. "They've dismantled entire formations without firing a single strike on some fronts," Lyra observed. Voss confirmed. Automated drones intercepted communications, misdirected units, and exploited weaknesses invisible to conventional scanners. Humanity had returned with centuries of lost warcraft, turning chaos into strategy. The shattered hive was a warning. Adaptability was no longer optional. It was enforced by evolution. Clusters of enemy ships drifted helplessly, caught in invisible gravitational traps. Arden's fleet followed cautiously, realizing the precision was more than weaponized. It was pedagogical. Every collapse, every intervention, taught strategy, survival, and inevitability. Humanity had returned to show not just power, but understanding that those who adapted would live, those who didn't would vanish. The galaxy watched in awe, unsure whether to fear or worship the return of Earth's fleet. The fleet entered a swirling crucible of dark matter and high-energy radiation. Sensors faltered, yet the Earth-marked ships moved without hesitation. "They've trained for this," Voss murmured, eyes fixed on the display. Every fluctuation in gravity, every spike in radiation was anticipated, countered, and utilized. Arden's officers struggled to follow, but the humans guided them as if the crucible itself were an extension of their strategy. Survival had been refined into art. Shields glowed under stress, hulls groaned, yet the fleet pressed forward. Missiles redirected, engines adjusted, and energy pulses flowed like water through the crucible. Arden realized the lesson. The galaxy's harshest environment was now a classroom. Humanity had returned not merely to survive the void, but to master it and teach those willing to follow. Every star, every anomaly, every pulse of energy was a test, and humanity had passed centuries ago. A massive transmission flooded the void, encoded in quantum wavelengths beyond standard detection. Voss's interface struggled to parse it. Lyra Dane whispered, "It's a message from Earth itself." The signal revealed hidden caches, secret star paths, and centuries of lost innovations. Arden's chest tightened. Humanity had returned with knowledge that could remake war, technology, and even the balance of galactic power. The ascendant signal was more than intelligence. It was a declaration. The past had survived, and now the galaxy would remember. Earth-marked ships repositioned, forming an immense lattice of influence and control. Arden watched, stunned. Every vector, every pulse, every energy field was orchestrated to perfection. Humanity had returned not to reclaim territory, but to assert mastery, restore legacy, and teach the galaxy a new paradigm. Voss's fingers trembled over the controls. The ascendant signal had awakened more than fleets. It had awakened destiny itself, and the stars would never be the same again. Arden's fleet approached the catalyst front, a volatile region of overlapping wormholes and radiation storms. Sensors detected enemy formations massing, unaware of the human-marked fleet's arrival. Voss's eyes narrowed. "They're walking into the wrong war." Every ship in the Earth fleet moved in precise harmony, using the storm as both shield and weapon. Arden realized the humans had turned chaos into strategy, the unpredictable into a weaponized ballet. This was no ordinary engagement. It was a lesson in dominance. Missiles veered automatically, guided by gravitational distortions engineered by the Earth fleet. Enemy ships faltered, torn between navigating the storm and evading unseen attacks. Arden's tactical officers were awed. Centuries of hidden warfare doctrine now unfolded in real time. Humanity had returned not merely to fight, it had returned to redefine how wars could be fought, where even storms bowed to their command. A pulse tore through the void, a quantum breach destabilizing nearby space-time. Voss barked orders as ships shuddered under fluctuating gravity. Lyra Dane's voice trembled. "They're moving through it, deliberately." The Earth fleet glided across the rupture with impossible control, engines harmonizing with the distortion. Arden's fleet followed cautiously, awestruck. Humanity had not only evolved in technology, but in understanding the very fabric of the galaxy. They were no longer limited by conventional physics. The breach pulsed again, opening pathways to hidden systems. Voss realized the humans had prepared shortcuts, secret routes and ambush corridors centuries ahead of the Council's knowledge. Arden gritted his teeth. Every advance by humanity was a lesson in anticipation and mastery. To fight them now was to fight inevitability. To survive was to adapt instantly, or be erased by the future incarnate. Sensors flickered as hidden warships, long considered lost, emerged from cloaked positions in uncharted sectors. Voss gasped. The Forgotten Armada, activated. Lyra Dane confirmed. Advanced drives, centuries ahead, coordinated with the Earth-marked fleet. Arden's officers watched in stunned silence. Ships believed destroyed now struck with surgical precision. Humanity had returned not only with surviving fleets, but with dormant war machines, poised for instant deployment. Every lost battle had been preparation for this moment. The Forgotten Armada struck with efficiency, neutralizing enemy formations while minimizing collateral damage. Arden realized the pattern. Every action, every engagement, was a calculated demonstration of dominance and mercy. Humanity had returned to show not just survival, but the evolution of warfare, controlled, perfected, and undeniable. The galaxy trembled at the emergence of a force thought extinct. Voss's sensors detected the temporal nexus, a gravitational anomaly that warped time itself. Lyra Dane's voice was tense. Every second could last minutes, or centuries. The Earth-marked fleet navigated it flawlessly, engines singing in harmony with temporal fluctuations. Arden's fleet struggled to maintain formation, but even within the distortion, the humans led with instinct and calculation. Humanity had returned not merely to fight in space, but to manipulate it, bending time as a tactical advantage. Missiles slowed and accelerated unpredictably. Enemy ships aged and decayed under temporal stress. Voss activated stabilizers, following the Earth fleet's lead. Arden realized the scale. Humanity had evolved beyond conventional constraints, mastering not just matter, but the flow of time itself. The temporal nexus became both shield and weapon, demonstrating that survival, mastery, and evolution were inseparable in this new era of war. In unison, as Arden's fleet observed the Earth-marked ships initiating the Ascension Protocol. Energy pulses radiated outward, restructuring gravitational fields, activating dormant fleets, and stabilizing unstable regions. Voss whispered, "They're transforming the battlefield into a command nexus." Arden's officers were awestruck that humanity had returned not only to fight, but to remake the galaxy itself, turning chaos into an organized theater of war. Every ship, every star system, every anomaly bent to their strategy. The Ascension Protocol was completed with near-perfect symmetry. Enemy fleets were corralled, neutralized, or redirected. Arden felt a mix of fear and awe. Humanity had survived isolation, evolved centuries beyond expectation, and now returned as arbiters of destiny. Voss gripped her console. The galaxy's balance had shifted irrevocably. Humanity wasn't merely back, they had returned to ascend, and every star, every fleet, every civilization would bear witness. Voss's fleet approached a derelict outpost at the edge of known space. Sensors detected no life, yet energy readings pulsed faintly. "It's active," Lyra Dane whispered. The Earth-marked fleet glided in, docking with precision. Holographic projections flickered to life, revealing centuries-old directives and hidden archives. Arden's eyes widened. Humanity had returned not only to fight, but to reclaim knowledge the galaxy thought lost. Every bite, every relic, was a piece of survival history waiting for the right hands. Automated turrets and energy grids awakened, aligning with the Earth fleet's commands. Voss's crew marveled as dormant systems interfaced with the advanced ships, forming a fortified node of unparalleled power. Arden realized the lesson. The past had been preserved not for remembrance, but for mastery. Humanity had returned, and with it, The forgotten legacies of Earth became instruments of war and wisdom. A shockwave rippled through the void as enemy fleets launched a coordinated strike. Engines roared, shields flared, and sensors screamed under overload. Voss barked orders, following patterns the Earth-marked fleet had already executed. Every attack was anticipated, every weak point neutralized before impact. Arden's officers stared in disbelief. Humanity had returned not merely as warriors, they had returned as a living network of strategy, capable of predicting and countering chaos in real time. Missiles redirected mid-flight, gravity wells warped enemy formations, and energy pulses stabilized allies. The void became a symphony of destruction and protection, orchestrated with near-perfect precision. Lyra Dane whispered, "They're turning war into a lesson." Arden realized the magnitude. Every confrontation, every strike, was both survival and pedagogy. Humanity had returned to fight, and to teach the galaxy the art of inevitability. Voss's sensors detected an underground network of hidden conduits linking star systems, long forgotten by the Galactic Council. "These pathways, they were meant for us," she murmured. Lyra Dane confirmed. The Earth-marked fleet moved seamlessly through them, bypassing enemy blockades. Arden's fleet struggled to keep pace. Humanity had returned with knowledge that transcended conventional navigation, turning impossible routes into tactical highways. The void itself became a battlefield molded to their will. Missiles fired from unexpected angles. Enemy ships found themselves trapped in loops of spatial corridors. Voss coordinated her fleet with the Earth-marked ships, learning to navigate the hidden conduits. Arden felt awe and dread in equal measure. Humanity had returned not just to survive or dominate, but to rewrite the very rules of movement, strategy, and engagement. Every step through the hidden pathways reinforced their supremacy. Sensors detected a temporal anomaly, a floating crystalline shard radiating quantum energy. Voss studied it. "This could manipulate time locally," she whispered. The Earth-marked fleet approached with care, engines synchronizing with its pulses. Arden's officers were stunned. Humanity had returned with the ability to shape causality itself. Every maneuver around the shard required precision, understanding, and instinct. Survival had become mastery of time as much as space. The shard's energy resonated with ship drives, enhancing speed and reaction times exponentially. Enemy projectiles slowed, shields intensified, and maneuvers became preemptive. Lyra Dane gasped. "They've weaponized time itself." Arden's realization hit hard. The humans had returned not merely to fight, they had returned as temporal strategists, bending the flow of battle, predicting events before they occurred, and making survival a certainty for those aligned with them. A colossal beacon activated at the galactic center, emitting pulses visible across light years. Voss's fleet aligned with it, engines harmonizing to the signal. Lyra Dane whispered, "It's a rally, a call." Across sectors, hidden fleets responded, moving into position. Arden understood humanity had returned to unify the galaxy, calling every surviving fleet to a single point of convergence. The beacon was both a message and a mandate: follow or be left behind. Energy arcs illuminated the void as fleets converged on the beacon, forming a lattice of coordination and power. Arden watched, awestruck as human-marked ships led the orchestration with flawless precision. The convergence beacon was not only a signal, it was proof. Humanity had survived centuries of isolation, evolved in secret, and now returned to reclaim, unify, and master the galaxy. Every fleet, every star, every mind would bear witness to their supremacy. The Earth-marked fleet entered a volatile spatial rift. Arden's fleet struggled against fluctuating gravity wells and radiation bursts, but the humans moved flawlessly. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've trained for this, centuries ahead of us." Every maneuver turned hazards into weapons. Missiles redirected mid-flight, shields warped in anticipation, and enemy formations faltered under invisible pressures. Humanity had returned not just to fight, they had returned to dominate space itself, bending the void to their will. Voss coordinated her fleet through the rift, following human-marked patterns. Arden watched in awe as enemy cruisers were neutralized before they even realized the threat. The rift became a crucible, testing strategy, adaptation, and instinct. Humanity had returned not just to survive chaos, but to teach it, transform it, and master it. Arden realized the scale. They were no longer just a fleet. They were a force centuries ahead, a reckoning in motion. A glowing nebula stretched across the void, forming a natural barricade against enemy reinforcements. Voss's sensors detected intense energy fluctuations within it. Lyra Dane observed, "The humans are manipulating the nebula as a weapon and shield." Arden's fleet followed cautiously as waves of light pulsed in response to the Earth-marked fleet's movements. Missiles were redirected, gravity flows altered, and enemy advances stalled. Humanity had returned not merely with technology, but with mastery over natural phenomena. The Aurora barricade became a living trap. Enemy ships slowed, caught in the pulse patterns, while human-marked vessels maneuvered freely. Arden's officers watched in awe as the nebula itself seemed to obey the fleet. Humanity had returned, bending even the cosmos to their strategy. Every pulse, every shimmer, every calculated energy spike was a lesson. Survival required adaptation, and mastery required evolution. Hidden stations blinked into existence along distant star lanes. Voss scanned their energy signatures. "They've been dormant, waiting for us," she murmured. The Earth-marked fleet activated them with flawless synchronization, creating a network of instantaneous communication and reinforcement. Arden's fleet struggled to comprehend the scale. Humanity had returned not just as warriors, but as architects of infrastructure, ready to control space-time pathways across light years. Every signal, every relay, strengthened their reach and influence. Missiles, drones, and energy pulses now moved with preemptive efficiency, coordinated across vast distances. Lyra Dane whispered, "They're everywhere at once, without being anywhere." Arden realized the terrifying truth. Humanity had returned with a fleet-networked consciousness, a phantom relay spanning the galaxy. Strategy, survival, and foresight had merged into a single, unstoppable entity. The enemy had nowhere to hide, and the galaxy would learn to fear the return of Earth's fleet. A shockwave of energy erupted from a central nexus point, scattering enemy formations. Voss's sensors struggled to track the source. It pulsed in multiple frequencies simultaneously. Lyra Dane said, "They've turned the nexus into a tactical amplifier." Arden's fleet braced as waves of energy synchronized with human-marked ships, strengthening shields, propelling vessels, and disorienting the enemy. Humanity had returned not merely with firepower, they had returned as engineers of cosmic warfare. The Nexus flare created a lattice of power across the battlefield. Arden watched in awe as enemy ships were immobilized or redirected without a single direct strike. Missiles exploded harmlessly, shields amplified preemptively, and the humans guided the flow like conductors of a symphony. Humanity had returned not just to fight, but to orchestrate entire theaters of war, turning even raw energy into instruments of mastery and inevitability. Voss's fleet aligned with the Earth-marked ships, forming a lattice across multiple sectors. Sensors detected gravitational, temporal, and energy links connecting every vessel. Lyra Dane whispered, "It's a command lattice. They've made the fleet one entity." Arden's officers were stunned. Humanity had returned not only with advanced technology, but with the ability to coordinate strategy, firepower, and defense as a single, distributed mind. Every movement was instantaneous. every action premeditated. The command lattice became a force of inevitability. Enemy fleets faltered under synchronized pressure, unable to react to the speed and coordination. Voss guided her crew, following human-marked patterns, and Arden realized the truth. Humanity had returned not merely to reclaim space, they had returned to define how war itself would be waged. The galaxy's understanding of strategy, technology, and survival had been rewritten, and nothing would ever be the same again. Admiral Arden's comms crackled with urgent transmissions. The Galactic Council had convened in panic. Reports of Earth-marked fleets moving with unmatched precision had reached every sector. "They've returned, and no one can match them," one counselor whispered. Arden realized the galaxy's assumption of humanity's extinction had been catastrophic. Voss's eyes narrowed. They underestimated centuries of evolution. The humans weren't just fighting. They were redefining power, and every counselor's fear confirmed it. Messages poured in from loyal fleets, pledging allegiance or fleeing in terror. Arden noted the strategic advantage. Panic was a weapon, and humanity wielded it silently. The Earth-marked fleet didn't need diplomacy. Their return was a statement. Every sector is now watched, powerless to predict the next move. Survival had transformed into dominance, and the galaxy had been given a warning. Humanity had returned, and they were beyond reckoning. Sensors detected unknown ships lurking in the shadows of a nearby nebula. Voss frowned. They're advanced, but not human-marked. Lyra Dane's analysis revealed a secret coalition, centuries in hiding, now rising to challenge humanity's return. Arden's fleet braced. The humans had returned with centuries of preparation, yet these hidden adversaries threatened to test that supremacy. Engines roared as tension mounted. The void was no longer just a battlefield, but a proving ground. The hidden fleet launched precision strikes, exploiting anomalies Arden's fleet hadn't anticipated. Voss coordinated defensive maneuvers, but the humans adapted instantly, redirecting fire and stabilizing positions. Lyra whispered, "They predicted the unpredicted." Arden realized the first real challenge was not ignorance or fear, but rivals who had also survived the void, evolved in secret, and now sought to reclaim influence. Humanity's supremacy would be contested, and the void itself would judge who prevailed. The Earth-marked fleet activated the Echo Grid, a lattice of energy fields, drones, and micro-relays spanning dozens of light-years. Voss studied the interface. "It's predictive, anticipatory," she muttered. Every movement of the enemy was mirrored, countered, and neutralized before action occurred. Arden's fleet followed cautiously, awestruck by the precision. Humanity had returned not just with technology, but with foresight, an ability to see, calculate, and adapt faster than conventional understanding allowed. Enemy formations faltered as drones disrupted sensors and energy pulses redirected trajectories mid-flight. Lyra Dane whispered, "They're turning perception into a weapon." Arden realized the galaxy's laws of engagement had shifted. The Echo Grid wasn't just a tool, it was a statement. Humanity had returned, and its reach, insight, and coordination made conventional fleets obsolete. To oppose them now was to challenge inevitability. The battlefield entered the fractured void, a region of erratic gravitational anomalies and energy storms. Voss's sensors struggled, yet the Earth-marked fleet navigated flawlessly. Lyra Dane muttered, "They've turned the impossible into a pathway." Arden's fleet strained to maintain formation, witnessing every maneuver orchestrated with precision and intent. Humanity had returned not just to survive the void, but to control it, transforming chaos into tactical advantage. Enemy fleets faltered, misdirected by unpredictable forces now exploited by the humans. Missiles twisted along warped paths, shields amplified, and ships moved as if gravity itself obeyed their command. Arden realized that the humans' mastery of the fractured void was more than skill. It was evolution. Humanity had returned not just to fight, but to dominate space, physics, and perception simultaneously, making the galaxy itself a canvas of control. A hidden coalition of rival powers convened in secrecy, sending envoys across fractured sectors. Arden's sensors picked up coded transmissions, negotiations, threats, and secret alignments. Lyra Dane observed, "They're uniting against the humans, but it may already be too late." The Earth-marked fleet moved beyond known sectors, activating latent fleets and infrastructure centuries hidden. Humanity had returned not merely to battle, but to rewrite galactic politics, rendering old alliances fragile and obsolete. Voss's fleet followed cautiously, integrating with the humans' movements. Arden understood the implications. Every hidden adversary would now face a coordinated, evolved force, centuries beyond expectation. Humanity had returned to reclaim not just space, but influence, legacy, and destiny. The conclave of shadows might challenge them, but Arden knew the human strategy was inexhaustible, and the galaxy would soon understand that survival, mastery, and supremacy were now inseparable. Negotiations with a fractured alliance collapsed. Voss observed hostile maneuvers emerging from hidden sectors. "They assumed fear would delay us," she muttered. Arden's fleet tightened formation, scanning for sudden attacks. The humans moved calmly, weapons humming in unison, anticipating every betrayal. Humanity had returned not just as warriors but as arbiters of inevitability. Every misstep by rivals was predicted, measured, and countered. Missiles streaked across the void, yet shields flexed instinctively. Enemy cruisers faltered under unseen pressures, their strategies twisted against them. Arden realized the scale. The humans had returned not merely to fight, but to enforce order through evolved precision. The shattered armistice was a warning. The galaxy's old assumptions of power, fear, and survival were obsolete. Humanity dictates the terms now. A swirling vortex of unstable energy appeared, threatening to collapse nearby star systems. Lyra Dane's console flared with warnings. "They're moving through it deliberately," Voss exclaimed. Engines roared as the Earth-marked fleet navigated the vortex flawlessly, bending energy pulses and stabilizing gravitational flows. Arden's officers watched in awe. Humanity had returned with mastery over the very fabric of space, transforming a potential disaster into a strategic advantage. Enemy fleets hesitated, trapped by the vortex's chaotic currents. Missiles veered unpredictably, and shields strained under the instability. Arden realized the humans' brilliance. They had returned not just with weapons, but with the ability to reshape hazards into tools of war. The quantum vortex became a proving ground, a testament to human foresight, adaptation, and dominance. From cloaked sectors, hundreds of ships emerged without warning. Voss's sensors struggled to track them. "The Silent Armada," Lyra Dane breathed. Arden's fleet braced as these dormant forces moved in perfect synchronization with the Earth-marked fleet. Every vessel, every maneuver, executed with precision beyond known doctrine. Humanity had returned not only with living fleets, but with hidden legacies, waiting centuries for the moment to awaken. Missiles, drones, and energy arrays activated in perfect unison, neutralizing enemy formations. Arden realized the terrifying truth. The Silent Armada wasn't just reinforcement, it was proof of centuries-long planning, evolution, and patience. Humanity had returned not only to fight, but to complete the orchestration of survival and supremacy. The galaxy's understanding of warfare would never be the same. The fleets reached a convergence point, a nexus of gravitational anomalies, ancient relay stations, and quantum corridors. Voss's sensors struggled to calculate the energy flow. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've synchronized everything. The entire battlefield is a single organism." Arden's officers watched as human-marked ships moved seamlessly, every action amplifying another. Humanity had returned not merely to fight, They had returned to unify chaos, technology, and strategy into an unstoppable force. Enemy ships faltered under coordinated pressure. Missiles ricocheted, shields intensified, and drones neutralized threats preemptively. Arden realized the Nexus convergence was more than a battle. It was a demonstration of ultimate control. Humanity had returned, centuries beyond expectation, orchestrating victory with elegance and inevitability. The galaxy witnessed not just a fleet, but an evolution realized. The Earth-marked fleet launched the Ascendant Strike, a coordinated assault across multiple sectors. Voss's interface displayed precision vectors, energy pulses, and synchronized maneuvers executed in near-perfect unison. Arden's fleet followed, awed by the humans' mastery of timing, space, and destruction. Humanity had returned not merely to reclaim territory, but to assert dominance through ingenuity and centuries of hidden evolution. Enemy formations collapsed under unstoppable pressure. Missiles, shields, and energy arrays worked as one, guided by a consciousness spanning dozens of light years. Lyra Dane whispered, "It's not just war. They're reshaping reality itself." Arden understood fully. Humanity's return was a declaration, a proof that survival, evolution, and mastery were inseparable. The Ascendant Strike was both vengeance and awakening. The galaxy would never forget the humans' return. The Earth-marked fleet approached the enemy's final stronghold, a massive citadel orbiting a shattered star. Voss's sensors detected energy barriers centuries ahead of known tech. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've fortified themselves, but not for long." Arden's officers braced as the humans maneuvered with uncanny precision, mapping every weakness, anticipating every defense. Humanity had returned not merely to fight, they had returned to dismantle obstacles before they could resist. Missiles streaked through fortified corridors, shields reconfigured mid-strike, and drones infiltrated command arrays. Arden watched as centuries-old tactics crumbled against human ingenuity. The last bastion wasn't just a target. It was a testament to human evolution. Every breach, every system collapse, reinforced the inevitable. The humans had returned not only to conquer, but to show that survival and mastery were inseparable. Voss's sensors flared as the enemy activated massive energy cannons, each capable of obliterating entire fleets. Lyra Dane muttered, "Singularity guns. They've been waiting for this moment." Arden's fleet faltered under the concentrated fire, but the Earth-marked ships moved flawlessly, shields resonating, engines compensating, and weapons preemptively disabling threats. Humanity had returned not just with advanced ships, but with the ability to neutralize overwhelming firepower instinctively. The singularity guns misfired, their energy disrupted by coordinated pulses from the human fleet. Arden's jaw tightened. Every attack had been calculated, every countermeasure anticipated. Humanity's return was not a confrontation. It was orchestration, turning the enemy's ultimate weapons into their undoing. The galaxy would witness a force that didn't just survive annihilation, it commanded inevitability. The fleet entered a region of temporal flux surrounding the citadel. Time itself became inconsistent, seconds stretched, hours compressed. Voss's voice trembled. "They're using the flux. Strategically." Arden's fleet struggled to maintain cohesion, but human-marked ships maneuvered flawlessly, exploiting temporal distortions to preempt enemy strikes. Humanity had returned not only to fight, but to bend time as a weapon. Missiles slowed and accelerated unpredictably. Shields adapted to the flux. Enemy ships aged under localized temporal pressure, systems decaying faster than expected. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've weaponized time itself." Arden realized the scale. Humanity's return wasn't just about victory. It was about mastery over every variable, every anomaly, every force in the galaxy. The temporal siege was absolute, and the humans orchestrated it flawlessly. The fleet breached the Citadel's core, revealing the enemy's command nexus. Voss's sensors detected layers of quantum encryption and energy shields centuries ahead of standard tech. Lyra Dane gasped. "They've hidden everything, even from us." Arden watched as the human-marked fleet interfaced seamlessly, neutralizing defenses, redirecting energy flows, and collapsing barriers from within. Humanity had returned not merely to fight. They had returned to rewrite the rules of engagement entirely. Drones infiltrated core systems, relays synchronized, and energy fields collapsed in perfect sequence. Arden's officers could only marvel as centuries of preparation unfolded in moments. The core breach was more than a tactical maneuver. It was a demonstration of mastery, evolution, and inevitability. Humanity had returned to claim not just victory, but authority over the very mechanisms of power. The final enemy leaders attempted to flee. The Earth-marked fleet surrounded them, energy fields pulsating in synchronization. Voss muttered, "This is perfection." Arden watched as the humans executed precision captures without unnecessary destruction. Every strike, every maneuver, every system collapse demonstrated centuries of hidden evolution. Humanity had returned not just to fight, but to reign through strategy, precision, and unassailable power. The ascendant throne, the enemy's command core, fell silent under coordinated pressure. Arden realized the truth. Humanity's return was not vengeance. It was reclamation, restoration, and assertion of supremacy. Lyra Dane whispered, "They've ascended. Fully." The galaxy would remember this day. The day humanity returned, evolved, and claimed its place as the architects of destiny itself. Across every sector, as news of humanity's victory rippled through the galaxy. Lyra Dane monitored the transmissions. Ships from distant systems pledged allegiance. Civilizations once resigned to despair now rallied. Voss's eyes gleamed. "They've woken the galaxy." Arden felt the weight of centuries compressed into this moment. Humanity had returned not only to fight, but to inspire, reshape, and awaken every corner of existence. The void itself seemed to hum with potential. The human-marked fleet moved as one, guiding fledgling allies, stabilizing star systems, and projecting influence with calculated grace. Arden realized that survival had evolved into stewardship. Humanity had returned not merely to conquer, but to shepherd, to lead, and to define a new era. Every star, every fleet, every mind now bore witness. The galaxy had awakened to the return of Earth. Voss activated the Legacy Grid, a network of quantum archives, hidden fleets, and energy nodes spanning the galaxy. Lyra Dane whispered, "It's centuries of preparation, now fully realized." Arden watched as knowledge, technology, and strategy flowed through the grid, instantly accessible to human and allied forces. Humanity had returned not just as warriors but as educators of survival, evolution, and mastery. Every sector now had the tools to endure, adapt, and thrive. Enemy remnants faltered, unable to comprehend the scale of coordination. Missiles were neutralized, starports secured, and fleets integrated seamlessly. Arden realized the truth. The Legacy Grid was more than technology. It was civilization reborn. Humanity had returned to safeguard not just victory, but the continuity of life and knowledge. The galaxy would remember the architects of this new age. Temporal conduits stabilized across contested sectors. Lyra Dane monitored pulses of accelerated evolution, energy fluctuations, and time field harmonics. Voss noted, "They're embedding themselves in the flow of history, ensuring balance." Arden's fleet observed as humanity used temporal mastery to reinforce stability, prevent catastrophes, and guide reconstruction. Survival had become foresight, and foresight had become governance. The temporal mandate extended influence without force. Anomalies corrected, stranded colonies restored, and energy flows harmonized across light years. Arden understood the scope. Humanity had returned not merely to reclaim space, but to align the galaxy with evolution itself. Every moment, every event, every choice now resonated with human-guided precision. The galaxy had entered an era of inevitability, and humanity led the way. Voss's fleet convened with Allied representatives at a newly constructed orbital station above a stabilized star. Lyra Dane marveled, "It's the first truly unified council in centuries." Arden observed human-marked ships forming a protective lattice, projecting authority and assurance simultaneously. Humanity had returned not just as victors but as unifiers, architects of diplomacy and guidance, creating a galactic framework for cooperation, survival, and advancement. The Celestial Council ratified new boundaries, trade networks, and shared technologies. Enemy remnants were offered integration or isolation. Arden realized the lesson. Humanity's return wasn't about domination. It was about stewardship. Every system, every fleet, every civilization now recognized that survival, evolution, and leadership were intertwined. The galaxy would remember the humans not just for power, but for guidance. The Earth-marked fleet departed for deep sectors, leaving stabilized systems, allied fleets, and a galaxy reborn. Lyra Dane reflected, "They've returned, and they'll never leave, not really." Arden's heart swelled with awe. Humanity had returned from isolation, survived centuries of hidden trials, and emerged not just victorious, but ascendant. Every ship, every pulse, every star marked the triumph of adaptation, ingenuity, and will. The void stretched ahead, infinite and uncharted, yet humanity moved forward with confidence, unity, and purpose. Arden whispered, "We are back, forever." Engines roared, echoing across light years, a promise of presence, protection, and legacy. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's return. The galaxy had learned its future would be defined by Earth. Survival had evolved into supremacy, and humanity's journey had only just begun. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.